Coming up, your New Jersey Devils get off the slide by taking care of Tampa in what felt like a very much needed win. We break down Jesper Bratt's absolutely electric performance, the step-up game from some fill-in players, and ultimately with new lines across the board, what are the expectations going forward as the season winds down? Just 12 games to go. We dive in on the puck luck next. Yes, it is Devils puck luck right here with myself, Adam Armbrecht, covering the Brooklyn Nets with the Locked On Nets, the Giants with the One Giant podcast, and your New Jersey Devils. Joined as always by my cousin and 20-year season ticket holder, Danny McDonough. How are you, man? Before we tap in, I always like to check in, make sure you're doing well, feeling right, feeling strong.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good. It's been a tenuous week with the Devils. Scary week with the Devils. I don't know about you, but I was a little nervous going into Sunday night's game against Tampa. I was I didn't want to say it was a must win,
Sure,
but it was a game that they just needed to show a lot more life throughout the prior week.
Oh, of course. I mean, not for nothing. You know, you're looking there in the Canes. They have a couple games in hand right now, but you're trying to chase them down maybe, and then you're losing multiple games. First, 3-game losing streak. I mean, it's weird.
Yeah, the end of December.
I mean, good Lord. And then on top of that, we never say the name in full, but the New York R's are over there, shutting people out and really just putting a little bit of pressure on it.
People Devils fans, we refer to them as rags sometimes. So, yeah, I mean.
I don't want to.
What's crazy is I'm
not going to use that term.
Yeah, no. But how are you, Adam? What's going on? What's new? What's exciting?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I froze my butt off on Saturday night seeing a Red Bulls game where they finally got their first win of the season. That was fun, though.
I was happy for you with that because I know you've been pretty stressed out that they weren't scoring goals in the beginning of the season.
Well, that's what they call it. They suck. There was that. And then St. Patrick's Day, obviously big weekend for everybody. Devils were wearing their St. Patrick's Day warm-ups over the weekend, too. So all good things, man. Nothing to complain about. My personal life is none of your concern, quite frankly. But coming into this game, the Tampa game, we're going to talk kind of globally about this team and where they are right now, and obviously a great 5-2 win. But coming into it, we've discussed so much about maybe wanting Ruff to be consistent and stick with these lines and not mix things up. And then he mixes them all up.
Yeah.
Before you saw the results, where were you mentally? After a 3-game losing streak, I guess at some point you say try something, but...
Yeah, I get it. Let's go back to the Tampa game, the second Tampa game, basically, where Timo scored a couple goals. We got back into it, lost in the shootout.
Right. Good. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It was some tough breaks. Florida game, we were playing great, and then we got bad puck luck, for 2 of the Florida goals. Akir Schmid was playing phenomenal, and I think Lindy Ruff said too in his post game, it's like it's embarrassed for the goaltending. Is the fact that he played so well and we still wound up losing. We had defensive breakdowns later in that game. Going back to your question with the lines, I'm feeling that Lindy Ruff is going to do this probably into the last 4 or 5 games of the season to hopefully solidify.
Well, there's only 12 left, so
I know that's the thing that's weird, right? It's like and Amanda Stein too. Obviously, everybody knows who she is as Devils fans. You can't even consider these like the top 3 lines, right? You have to consider not just like line 1, line 2, line 3. This is like a 1A, 1B, 1C.
Sure.
Because I feel like all these lines have incredible scorers. Everybody's going to score goals on these lines, and it's trying to find that cohesiveness to put a solid 3-period game together. That's what we're concerned about. I liked actually seeing Palat up on that second line, obviously, and we saw the great things that he was able to do. He had great games, even though he wasn't on the score sheet as much as we like. He had some great games. Same with Tuna, same with Tatar, with that line, that first line sticking together. But let me ask you, as a Devils fan who's gotten a lot more into it this season, I think we could say, right? Do you see this being troubling moving forward going into the playoffs with the line juggling, or do you like it because now, especially with the 3-game losing streak and winning last on Sunday night, do you think it's a good thing for this team?
Well, so here's what I think it ends up affording you is even if it comes in a loss or if you have a good period, but you end up like against, Florida, feels like you maybe could have, should have, whatever. Even in losses, if you get a good sample size of combinations, it means you have something that you can go to. Because the one thing that we do know is that even in the most used hierarchy of these lines, they've had bad stretches.
Right.
Hughes has struggled. He's not performing at his best. He's getting back on track. He's certainly been performing better of late, and that's almost, in spite of losses. So you feel good about that. But I think you'd like to be able to say, if you're Coach Ruff, you want to say, we get down 1-0 in a series. Did I not like what I got from lines 2 and 3? Okay, let's shuffle a couple of bodies up and know that even the guys you're going to have to send down can view it as not necessarily a demotion, but an opportunity to have success with a different combination.
Right.
So I think in a perfect world, you'd like it to be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and just know what you're going in with. But when you bring in a trade like that, and maybe unlike, let's use the Rags as the example, when you bring in a player like Kane, he's been in the league for so long, you know exactly what he is. He has such a level of experience. Timo's not new to the league, but this team is young, the Devils.
Right.
So the adjustment, I think, is going to be a little bit steeper for them than it is for other teams when they make those deals right at the deadline.
Yeah, I agree. I think the top line is going to stay together. I think we've kind of seen that consistency with Lindy Ruff. I think that you're going to see the juggling of the second and third line. And it goes back to exactly what you're saying. I think that it makes it more the 1A, 1B, 1C types of lines that you're going to adjust on the fly. So Devils fans, get used to this for the rest of the year.
I guess that'd be the big thing.
Yeah, this is going to keep happening. And as much as I hate to say it, the Smith and Ball rotation is going to continue to happen. I want to see Kevin Ball consistently. Adam and I were talking before we started recording. I think it's just going to continue to happen. I think you're going to see the rotation, getting the veteran guy in there, and trying to teach Kevin Ball a little bit more, about his mistakes, and he's going to sit certain games.
It's too deep into the season to think that you're going to get away from that.
Right. So you expect it. To me, let me ask you a question. Would you rather have Kevin Ball in the playoffs or Brandon Smith starting game 1 in a best of 7 series?
No, I always want to lean to the guy, not just hot hand, but the guy that I think has like an untapped upside.
Right.
So I would want to go with Ball.
Agreed. Brandon Smith has had some good moments defensively too in the last few games he's played. Taking penalties, of course. We know that he takes penalties.
We just know it's going to be available to take penalties. Someone's got to step up. Well, that's the funny thing, though. They always say someone's got to step up when a guy goes down, but they always need to clarify, not in every single category.
Yeah, I also want to see Timo to stop taking penalties. He made a slashing penalty against Tampa and he looked on the bench. He was like, "Well, it was me." I was at the game. With Julie that night, and it was a blatant and great seats. Thank you again to my rep. It was a blatant slash. You know what I mean? It was just a blatant slash. And these like mindless penalties just need to stop happening. It's bonehead plays that that the refs are going to call, especially we've seen it. And I know you were joking with me because I was on Twitter and I was saying that every single game we play the Lightning and every single game we play Toronto, those borderline calls, it seems, are going against us. So if we know what's going to happen, especially against those teams, those veteran teams, we're probably getting a little bit screwed by the refs here and there. I think it all comes back tenfold, though. I think it kind of balances itself out. Just be more conscious of what you're doing.
And the point being is like be cognizant of it. And by the way, you want to play smart hockey all the time for sure. There were some nice things I thought from Timo in this last Tampa game as well, even when not on the score sheet. And you can say that this is trying to find something nice to say when he's having off nights or when he's scoring goals in games he end up losing in overtime and shootouts. But he was in front of the net on a lot of the goals that got scored there. He was putting some interference in front of the goalkeeper there. Goaltender, sorry. Soccer on the brain.
Goalkeeper's okay.
But, so you try to look at those things as being the culmination of what you want this player to do. And part of that is not taking dumb penalties.
Sure.
And, there's a frustration piece there. I think sometimes when you see a player react that way, looking at the bench, being like, there's even more. It's more of a, like, me again, as in, like, I did it again. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm compounding my play or my struggle or trying to adjust by making that mistake, what feels like very consistent. We said this before the couple of big games for him. Every game, at some point, he's like, give me one of those.
I think that my concern right now is seeing the Devils play some of these veteran teams that are a little more physical and a little smarter with their play. And a lot of people don't realize a Tampa Bay Lightning team, they're clogging the neutral zone against the Devils. Yeah. So you talk about a neutral zone type trap. That's what Tampa's going to do against the Devils because they're going to eliminate their speed. They're going to play between the blue lines, and they're going to make the ice a lot shorter for the Devils.
I'm slightly ahead of you if you're over on YouTube. My head looks enormous compared to Dan's right now. But I do agree with you.
Is it because I'm sitting back? Maybe like it's
no, that
you just have a bigger head than me, dude.
Well, that's neither here nor there. But I do agree with you. The veteran team piece, which I want to circle back to that at the end of the episode.
Sure.
We just think about going forward here, 12 games to play, and some of the things that are going to come up in this particular Tampa game. Just to round it out, because it ends up being a great game. And unlike other games where I feel like as things are unfolding for the Devils or falling apart for the Devils, you can see it coming. Like you have that sense of they're not skating well. They're getting beat to loose pucks. They're turning it over in the neutral zone, right? All the tenets of the games when they struggled. This one comes at least early. So Dougie Hamilton playing aggressive, can't quite, hey, look, bring that one right back. Playing aggressive, ends up taking the early penalty, leads to the Kucherov goal.
Right.
But in spite of that, the Devils were responding well to a 3-game losing streak. They came out and were the more dominant team, the more controlling team. And that at least had a sense of, and you were there in real time, it had a sense of, or did it have a sense of, they're gonna break through. They're gonna get back in this one. Or were you a little bit of, okay, we're outplaying them, we're outskating them, and we could still end up losing 3 games to this team in the matter of a week?
You know what it is? It's a lot of it is puck luck. The reason why we called this podcast Puck Luck, because so much plays into it with all these games. We were playing extremely well. I was confident. I felt confident we were going to come back. We were skating well. The Florida game, I was nervous.
Sure.
We were up 2-0, and we gave up that lead. The reason why we gave up that lead, we were not physical. Again, Florida's a team. They're going to throw their weight around. They're going to be physical with you. They're going to get into scrums with you. We did not respond the right way against the Panthers, and that's why we lost that game. With Tampa, I thought we were responding the right way Sunday night in the win. I thought that we were still staying to our game, playing the game that we want to play. We saw players that really, really deserved to get what they were on a score sheet with Bratt. Obviously, we'll talk about in a minute. But more importantly, players like you said, Palat, who might not necessarily be showing up with the 2 goals, 1 assist, but he was strong on the boards. He was great in the neutral zone. He was really, really good with his forecheck. And Tuna's another player too. So
I had them circled, both Tatar and Palat, obviously, in that mid-first shift. And that was really a part of it too. The Devils are down, but it was an immediate response following the goal. They were more dominant. They were getting those neutral. And by the way, to me, I'll say, and we've talked about this a lot, but the neutral zone for the Devils, it's important for every team.
Sure.
But if you want to get the temperature of where the game is going for the Devils, how they perform in the neutral zone, going both ways, how they perform defensively when they make the choice to pinch, when they make the choice, we talk about Hughes a lot, but just the passing inside of that neutral zone, how they perform and what their intention is around that zone has become so critical to them. That to me is like a big barometer on a given night, even if they're losing.
100%. You hit it on the head. And that to me is where our concern is going to be in the playoffs, right? It's going to be these veteran teams that are going to be stymie on defense in the neutral zone against us. And it's really how we dump the puck into the zone, forecheck really well, puck possession, smart, simplistic passing like we always talk about. And you see it with Tampa. We're gonna struggle against teams like Tampa and Boston, I think, right now. We obviously can beat them in a 7-game series. We can beat anybody, in my opinion, in a 7-game series. But those are the things that we want to improve on, and see the maturation of the young players and this young core is really going to be great moving forward.
Other things that I just want to bring up about this game, and I do, obviously, it's so funny to try to do the both and. Watching a young team develop and then also saying we have 12 games before the playoffs and we want to win and we don't want to go up against the Rangers or whoever we're going to take on and feel like you're still trying to figure things out. I thought McLeod, I thought Sharon Govich, they had a great opportunity. They played really well off of one another. Sharon Govich just loses control of the puck in the zone there. Ball had a couple of nice chances as well. That was one of those things. Don't touch my cards, please. You see what happens? God, I saved the explicit tag. Could have been an eyeball, for crying out loud.
That would have been bad.
But I thought that they both played really. I mean, I think everybody played well.
Yeah,
you'd be hard pressed to pick out someone. There's always in a game. I mean, what's not on the ice, so it's easy. You can't say anything. Smith didn't play this game, so you can't say him.
I don't think Graves had necessarily the best.
Oh, by the way, though, I didn't write it down, but he did have. It's the second goal. Oh, I did write it down.
Did you?
I had it in here. He had the lackadaisical kind of puck clearance. I wouldn't even call it puck clearance. It was more like a soft pass to the Lightning, and then they worked.
And that's going to happen. And Severson going down a little too early.
Sequence,
Severson going down a little too early. I think that
on the block, it was like. And by the way, like a nice little, it's a good hold on the puck to force the defender to make a choice. And also,
what I think is great is that our offensive core had a better defensive type of game, that they were really being more defensively responsible when some of our defenders had a couple little lapses in the defensive zone. So that to me is a plus. That's what we've been talking about for the last 3-4 weeks. The fact that we really want to see our offensive guys be defensively responsible. I think we saw that. Yeah. You're going to have those little turnovers. It's going to happen. It's giveaways are part of the game. It's really how you respond after the giveaways.
All right. So before we turn our attention then to the guy that had the game of his season so far, Jesper Bratt, and obviously the great performance, let's kick that off by playing a little game of If Not Hockey. You can see his big bright face there if you're watching over on YouTube. Jesper Bratt, we did this before with Timo Meier, with Lazar. Kind of shame on us for even bringing Lazar into the fold here before he's like really giving us sample size. But if you get over on YouTube, you can see it. There's that big, beautiful face. Danny, if not hockey, what would Jesper Bratt be doing?
This is a tough one. This is actually, you always put me on a spot with these.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the GC. I think he's going to be a general contractor. He's going to be in charge of some jobs. He's going to have some guys. Just got that kind of face, he's like, go do this, go do this, go do this, kind of delegate,
Yeah, I apologize. We were going for neck model. Neck model is what we're going for. Back on YouTube, look at that great extension. If he goes side profile, I'm talking about someone you could put maybe a chain around there. Yeah, maybe some type of, maybe even, I don't even want to say, because we usually go pretty definitive on these. You want to tell me that he does YouTube demos for how to tie a tie, a Windsor knot, right? There's a lot of options out there, but neck model
is what Jesper What about consultant? He looks like he'd be a good consultant.
Okay, I said neck model, Dan, so we're going to go ahead and stick with it and kind of respect the process because I do a lot of research on these. Now, in that second period, the Devils at one point were 10 shots to 2 over top of Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. Both of the first 2 goals, and then I'll let you take it away on the third goal and everything that you liked about Bratt's game. Both of the first 2 goals, though, I thought were just an incredible display of patience and execution, right? Sure. First goal, he comes down into the attacking zone, head up, looking like he's surveying, waiting to make the pass, and then you see that burst of speed, right? Almost loses it going across the front, but puts that one away. Second one, same thing. What did you like about those sequences from Bratt? Yeah. Why was he so effective in this game? Mm-hmm. You go back even over the last few and waiting for someone to kind of take that lead.
One word, vision. His vision of the ice was absolutely phenomenal in this game against the Lightning. Skated in the open areas, he was smart with the puck and he took the shots, man. He took the shots, didn't think about a pass.
All time. Yeah.
He took the shots, and that's what you need to do. And I feel like he was exposing Vasilevsky a little bit too for the Lightning. And I feel like he had an idea of what he wanted to do when he was going to shoot the puck, especially on that second goal that he had. So, for me, it's a
wrister, but what a little flick, right? And he just waited for the congestion to be there, but understanding, it's funny, that second one, when I think back to it, it's a little wrist shot. Mm-hmm. So you can't go through traffic on those in the same way that you do when you put it with pace and you think, hey, a slap shot is going to catch a body and go through. You're kind of trying to find the pocket on that, and you really executed great on that one as well.
Sneaky shot. It was extremely sneaky shot, and I think that I don't think anybody was expecting to shoot in that moment.
Right.
So especially on the second goal. So it's little things like that. It's the vision of the ice and knowing where he is and knowing to take the shot. And he was feeling it. He was confident, which was great. And obviously the third goal being the empty netter to get the hat trick. Awesome. But at the end of the day, he has his hat trick. He has 30 goals on the year. So now we have 3 players with 30 plus goals.
That's nice.
Also his 100th NHL goal. So hats off to Jesper Bratt.
I forgot about that one in my notes. Before we get into some lines, some players, some other things that we can carry forward, puck luck moment of the night. New feature for the podcast.
Ooh, let's go.
Devils are up 3-2. Mm-hmm. And what was called a goal on the ice. Yeah. And by the eye test, I think everyone assumed it was. When you want some puck luck, it is just Vitek gets kind of blocked by his own defenseman as well, rattles off the post and somehow goes directly behind him, comes out, and then the follow-up rebound is just off the edge where he can't get the right angle there.
I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared, but that is the puck luck. It's but can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I know that you're a little you don't agree with me on this.
All right.
I thought the refs were absolutely atrocious. Against every time the Devils have played the Lightning in the last 3 times they played, they have been terrible. And I'm not just saying calls against us.
Right. Just bad.
The second game against the Lightning was so bad. And there was so many moments where you're at the game like, what? Like, how do you make that call? And listen, when the Lightning took a lead 3-2 in that game and we tied it, we tied it 3-3 and then we went to the shootout. The penalty that against Ball wasn't really a penalty either. The refs kind of made up for it, and I want to see 5-on-5 hockey. So to all the NHL officiating crew out there, we're down to a dozen games left. Stop the
So
nonsense. Stop the soft calls.
You think they're gonna hold on?
Stop the soft calls.
Quick.
5-on-5 hockey. We want to see which team is better 5-on-5 because right now power play number 1 for the Devils. I'm a little concerned about still. But that being said, let's play some 5-on-5 hockey. It's some weak calls, some nonsense calls.
So I just want to make it clear here. Devils have 12. There's 12 games left. So 70 games in. Now you'd like to see the refs turn over a new leaf. I think here's my thing about it, man. It's just that it's not that I think refereeing can be bad, obviously, in every single sport across the board. But at some point, like I hate it being a crutch. And I know that like NHL fans overall, if it's a Canadian team, then that's always the first one you go to, right? Sure. Canadian teams are always going to get the favorable calls because they are the patriarch of the hockey, of the sport of hockey. Like, I get it, and also just be better than it, right? So when the referees are making bad calls and you feel like you're getting screwed, be up by 2 goals at that point, or just respond well. And I also totally get your point about it. I've always had a problem with any sport of fan base unless you can definitively say that my team lost 15 games this year exclusively because of the way the referees treated us and not the other team.
Right. And this isn't football like in the playoffs a few years back with a blatant pass interference against the Saints, something like that. I understand that. And listen, the Devils had a 5-on-3 for 2 minutes in that second game against the Lightning and did not score.
And I remember saying that back at that point, at the 100%, time. I was
we were texting back and forth. We were talking, and it's like
5-on-3.
100%. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Score a goal. Like, that's it. Score a goal. And the first minute and 20 seconds of that 5-on-3, I was like, what is going on? Yeah. It was like the extra pass, like just sloppy play. And it's not an excuse. We can't use it as a crutch, like you say. Officiating is going to be bad. Also, officiating is going to be bad. At least 1 or 2 games a season, you're going to be like, oh my God, that was the worst officiating game I've seen. We saw it against Toronto, when the Devils played Toronto, when they lost their losing streak. Some bad calls, but listen, overcome it. Yes, that's it. Just overcome it.
And by the way,
games.
If you're the refs, get it out of your system before the playoffs.
Yeah, please.
That's my big thing too. One other note that I want to make here. So we have the Hulla, Hughes, and Mercer line. I didn't even, because it hasn't been the sample size we've been getting of late with them. 15 games, plus 15 on shots, plus 5 on goals, plus 16 on chances, 11 goals across those 15 games as well. And one of the really nice things that was brought up on the broadcast when it comes to the benefit for Hughes with that line is having Hulla there to hopefully win some more faceoffs, right? Sure. So I just, as a reminder for everybody, and I'll go to my...
Yeah, and I misspoke too before. The top line was mixed and matched. So earlier in the episode, I apologize. The top line was mixed and matched.
I wasn't going to bring it
up. It was a brain fart because I was thinking back to the Tampa game, the second Tampa game. It's been a minute since we talked to everybody, It's been 3 games down. So it's I was thinking back to that Tampa game, but keep going, Adam, what you're saying. So
just 55% on faceoffs. Right. And then you also end up having, so Heischer's in behind him. Obviously, we know McLeod is the one leading this team right now. But it's a good reminder that it allows Hughes to hopefully get more opportunities to be on the puck, win more chances in the offensive zone. And across this team right now, there's nobody else when it comes to winning faceoff. Those top 3 players, like, that's the guys.
100%. And you remember,
after that, you're looking down to Mercer, who wins 45. So you are effectively pairing, Hughes with a couple of guys and getting good.
And you got to remember too, is when Hughes was hot and he was scoring and he had this point streak that was crazy. Holla was his center, and he was making plays with them. So I think that Ruff is going to try things like this out. I think a lot of this is to get that spark back in Jack. I really do. I think a lot of these lines are going to be juggled because I think that everybody's talking about, well, Jack hasn't looked the same. Jack doesn't look right. Something's going on with Jack. He's not mentally there right now. Right. He's going to be fine. This is being a young kid with the grueling. We talk about this all the time. The mental factor of the season. He's going to be all right. I think this is Lindy really trying to get an idea of what he needs to do to get everything he needs to out of Jack. And I'm good with that line.
Yeah, you keep trying it until something comes to fruition. And by the way, some of these combinations are unlocking your secondary players. Right?
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Where do you put quickly before we talk about another player that made it that stepped up here in this game as well? Lazar was out. Wood, Bastian still out for the team, so you needed some fill-ins there. Where is Jesper Bratt for you in the hierarchy of players for this team? Because now when you think about spreading these guys out across lines, if the complement is there for them, well, now we can be dangerous threefold, as opposed to maybe feeling like you want to stay your first 2 lines. And we know the third line has been excellent, obviously, the BMW line, but just trying to find ways to make sure that the threat remains consistent throughout rather than the approach that maybe has been failing Hughes at times. We need our first two lines to be executing at a high level, and then we'll build from there and behind them.
There isn't even a third line now. It's crazy with everything going on, right?
That's
like the Palat line, and that was, with Holla, and it's
and you're
tough,
trusting
right?
Palat, you're trusting certain guys to say, hey, we
and to answer your question,
help unlock people.
We talk about the future, right? A lot with this team. We talk about who's going to get signed in the offseason, and that the negotiations for Bratt are still going on for his extension, and talking about Timo being extended. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think the same thing that was happening with Jack is happening with Bratt. I think that just thinking about the extension, maybe thinking about a new contract, he was pressing a little bit. He could have, and maybe getting out of, this little funk, we'll call it, because he hasn't had as many points as he should have, let's say, getting this hat trick, I think can help get him out of his funk. Bratt and Timo are vital pieces to this team moving forward. And I really want the Devils to sign both just to get that out there. I think that they are part of your core. I think what the Devils want to build and how they want to build it, those two players are part of your core. And the fact that the NHL cap, we're going to get a little bit extra money on that cap. You can sign those players. You can sign those players. But to answer your question, I think they're of equal importance. I really do. I think they're right there with each other. I think they're of equal importance. Same with Jack. Same with Nico.
Because you at times feel like, you bring up Nico. Do you at times feel like Jack has, he's being presented as like the diamond, as in he's going to, the expectation is he will become one of the top, X players in the league.
Sure.
He will be the absolute dominant force with consistency. Whereas a lot of times when I look at this team, I think about being like, you need to have a nice full complement of talented players, and they have them, and they all need to be coming up together at the same time. And that includes Timo now when we get to the offseason and contracts, etc. Like, you want this to be a wave. You don't want to be, and putting the weight on this one particular very young player, incredibly talented player, probably has the ceiling that's untapped, and we're going to love to see it. And also, it's like he can also be one of your top guys, not the top guy.
That's the big thing, right? It's look at it like this, right? I think I've told you my favorite New Jersey Devil right now is Nico Hischier. The reason why he's an amazing two-way player, and
that's what you want too in these guys.
And that's the thing is Jack and Jesper both need to develop into that two-way player. Nico can do everything. Nico can be on the penalty kill, the power play. He's going to be on your top line. He's under the radar, has 30 goals this year.
Who are your top three players on the Devils right now?
Like my favorite players, performance-wise, or just who
are your top? Give me your top three players on the team.
Nico Hischier.
Yeah.
Jonas Siegenthaler, I think, is one of the most underrated NHL defensemen in the league.
Okay.
And John Marino. Those to me are
good check-ins. Those are good check-ins.
Yeah, they are my favorite players that I love to watch.
Yeah.
I love watching Jack Hughes. I think everybody, across NHL fan base does. I love watching Timo Meier, his physicality. I love it. I love watching Palat just for that veteran experience and to really do the things that a lot of fans of hockey players don't realize are important, like being tough on the puck, being great on the boards, being great in the neutral zone. I love watching players like that.
Talked about that with Neil from Devil's State of Mind. You can check out that episode on the podcast feed and on YouTube, where we did a little bit of like the past, the present, the future, and even he said the offseason, that Palat pickup was so huge because you need veteran experience. But when you ask about three players, and none of the guys you named there were Hughes, were Meier, were Bratt. And that's, I think, just to my point about what you want to develop with this team overall.
Yeah, and the veteran experience, right? Is you want those veteran guys to basically be the people that, the younger kids are leaning on. And I think, basically having that Andre Palat there going into the playoffs is lean on him, man. And by the way, bravo to Tampa for that great video they did before the game to honor Palat. Was absolutely incredible, too. I don't know. You saw it, right? It was absolutely incredible. Definitely like heartwarming, very touching, and bravo to Tampa organization for doing that.
One of my favorite things about hockey in general is usually like the fans and the players. There seems to be a very, community kind of
respect across the league. Yeah,
I was gonna say community kind of energy, but
respect sounds better.
I'll move on then. Anywho, one last thing we want to do here, as we've been talking about, there are tickets on the line. A ticket giveaway coming from Danny, who has season tickets, as we know. Choice, you're gonna be your choice of where you want to sit in the arena, but you have to have all the key words. This is our final word.
This is the final one.
This is the fifth word.
Fifth and everybody's also saying they want to sit downstairs in corner. So please, if you want them, you have your choice. So
here's the deal. This is the final word. We told this last episode. You cannot have been messaging Danny on Instagram or on social media.
A lot of people doing it out
there. Words as they've been given out. While that's still great that you're tracking them and you can just check your messages, Now we need the full string of all 5 words, and that would be the way to get off on a good foot if you want to get those tickets. Foot is our word of the night. Had to step up. A lot of guys out looking for fill-ins. This is always an opportunity, especially late in the season.
Yeah.
Put a good, I'll do it one more time, good foot forward, but step up and play well too, right? This is a good look at what the Devils have in terms of depth.
I'm just hearing you say good foot forward like that. It's no, you're absolutely right.
We're going to get out of here, folks. Thanks for coming by.
No, you're absolutely right. Listen, and scoring against his former team there, the Tampa Bay Lightning. So getting that 4th goal against the Lightning was definitely a great insurance goal, an important insurance goal, obviously. But he played great. He not just getting on the score sheet, but he played great against the boards. He was physical. He knew where to be. Obviously defensive responsibility, something we always talk about. And when you're put on a 4th line, all the coaching staff wants you go out there, be physical, forecheck, control the puck, simplify your passing, but most importantly, don't make mistakes. And that's something that you could say that really did. And I was very happy with Sharon Govich too. Down the last couple games, he's been playing a lot better. And I know that a lot of fans were on him because of his offensive production was not there at all. I'm starting to see little sparks about with the things that he can do. So I hope moving forward there's a place for him on his team.
There's a little weird, I think down the stretch here, as I say weird, but just I think what'll be interesting to do his last 12 games is maybe as we look towards the playoffs and say like, who's the surprising guy, right? Or who's the player that you think maybe gets an opportunity that you wouldn't be expecting? And I think there is this room, especially in the defensive area, for someone to step up and maybe take over a role or elevate themselves inside of these rotations, certainly. So that'll be fun to watch for too. I'm not throwing Foot's hat in the ring here, but when you got guys injured and guys in and out of the lineup, you just need to fill in. Right.
We talk about depth all the time, and now we got some guys banged up and injured. So, and the great thing is the competition going into the playoffs is who is going to be on that 4th line. Are we going to see the BMW line? Is Wood going to be out for an extended period of time? So it's interesting to see what's going to happen moving forward. I think that this is a blessing in disguise that some of this is happening now. Obviously, you don't want it to happen right around the playoffs or in the playoffs. So the next dozen games are going to be fun.
Next 5 to 7 will probably be, like you said, those last 5 of the season. It's funny, though, because you want to be able to also get certain guys key rest if you want to. You may not have to press. But with the way things are in the standing, it just feels like you're going to be fighting for everything all the way through. But those last 5 games, you know what you have.
Let me ask you a question. So the next 5 games, Carolina plays the Rangers twice, right? In the back-to-back.
Oh, we talked about that last time.
Who are we rooting for here? Because we can win the division. We definitely can win the next 5 games. We have a little bit of an easier schedule. We're playing Wild, Buffalo, Ottawa our next 3. They got Tampa too, the Canes. So, I mean, they got a lot of tough games coming up.
Let's see here. So 2 games in hand for the Canes. We're dead even with the Rangers. God, this is...
Well, 5 points up, but yes. Game-wise, yeah.
But even in terms of games played, excuse me.
Yeah.
So then I want the Rangers to beat the Canes and give us a shot, right? I mean, as long as you feel like it's achievable without potentially losing anything, and that's the great combination of, right? You look at the Devils schedule, you look at everybody else's schedule, you say, hey, what are the chances that we go on another 3-game losing streak?
I think it's Devils just win your games.
Right.
If you're going to lose.
And then you look up and you see what happened, right?
Yeah, and just get a point. Even if it means losing in a shootout, which I want to go away. No more shootouts, but, wishful thinking. And, as far as the Rangers and Canes, just no 3-point games, no overtime games. So, there's only 2 points awarded to the winning team, not 3 points. So, 1 to the losing team, obviously.
Yeah, I hear you. But no, so, the Canes, remember, as you said, at the Rangers, home for the Rangers, Toronto, Bruins are going to be mixed in there, and then Tampa Bay. Now, those 4 games after the Rangers are all at home for them, so they should have some home ice advantage. But that's a tough slate of games for them to
listen. If they go 1-3-1 in their next 5, and we go 3-1-1, or 4-0-1, there's a great possibility that we can win this division. I think this next 5 is going to be the biggest stretch going into the Wild, which is tomorrow night for us. When this is released, it'll be night of, so we're going to be releasing this Tuesday. They're going to be playing the Wild. This stretch is going to be absolutely incredible to see what happens, and let's not forget, let's handle our business, because there's a lot of things we need to clean up. But to me, we can go 3-1-1 at minimum in these next 5.
Yeah, and that puts some pressure on obviously the Canes, and most importantly, getting that continuity up as you're talking about. Ultimately, coming out of that Tampa win, remember, it is one where the Devils outshot Tampa 39-24, where they won the faceoff 62% of the time, where they only had 1 power play opportunity to 4 and still came out with a 5-2 victory. One thing I would like to see them do is put more pressure on the opponent, get some of those penalties, because even though we're concerned about PP1, you got to get samples. You got to keep trying to get better at that and see what you can do to be successful, because when those opportunities come in the playoffs, that's going to be down in a game, get yourself back in it, up in a game, start to try to bury a team. So, those moments have been frustrating to this point, but I want to see the Devils continue to build off.
Yeah, we talked about special teams. We've been texting back and forth a lot this last week about special teams. It's the worst feeling when you're giving up
special teams.
Yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst feeling when you're giving up shorthanded goals. And we've seen a few the last week. So it's really just being smart. And again, that goes back to Timo being new on the PP1. So we gave it time, right? We gave it time. We said let's give him a little time to develop. Let's figure it out. I think Timo has had enough time to develop with this team where he knows the players on different line combinations. Where it's now, we can't use the excuse. It's he's not really.
Oh no, we're here now. Yeah.
I think we're here. I think we're here right now. I think it took some time, but I think we're here right now. And listen, it's the more important reason of signing Bratt and Timo, like we're talking about. Just imagine him being able to gel with this team in the offseason as well.
Yes,
it's only going to get better, and not looking forward too much, which we are, but. Focusing on this season now with the last dozen games, I think it's just a matter of the 1A, 1B, and 1C lines. Let's see what everybody can do. And the consistency.
You can consistently find us right here on the Devil's Puck Luck podcast, on YouTube, on your podcast feeds as well. Continue to support us as we continue to grow this thing over on social media. That's going to be at Danny the Face, at Adam Armbrecht, at Devil's Puck Luck over on IG, at NJ Devils PL on Twitter. There's
a lot going on.
It's a cacophony. It's a papoose of opportunities to communicate and interact with us. And obviously, get out there, man. Any social platform you want, YouTube included. 5 key words, and you're going to that game. Sounds like it's going to be lower bowl for whoever. Yeah,
everybody keeps asking me, they're like, I want lower bowl, and I appreciate that, because a lot of people who don't go to a lot of games, have been hitting us up.
There's a vibe down there.
Yeah, and it's a faster game down there. It's definitely louder too, for the Rock. But I think that last 12 games, I think the Prudential Center is going to be really hopping over there.
We will give a shout out to whoever wins that, obviously, on our next episode. Wild coming up. Let's get back in the action here. And frankly, let's make sure that just like on the ice, we always keep things gravy.